So I recently picked up my first acoustic piano. It's a Kawai CE7N. It's a small, compact, upright acoustic piano, and it's got a really soft, warm sound, especially with the felt down. This is my first ever attempt to record the piano and to make a beat out of it. So with all of the audio recordings that you've just seen, I've put it together into a sort of more of a beat format with some transitions and some flow to it. And I'm going to break the Ableton project down in just a second, going over the effects and processes that I use to make the track. So there's going to be a range of beat making videos coming out in the next few weeks. So my goal for that really is to try and keep using new effects and new virtual instruments. So every breakdown will include effects or instruments that I've never used on the channel before. It's just an excuse for me to explore new VSTs that I've never used. And for everyone watching, there'll be something new to discover every time I make a new video. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be the first to hear about those. And also let me know in the comments down below if there's any specific VSTs you'd like me to focus on. Are you looking for more piano VSTs, guitar VSTs, or certain effects that you're after? And I can try and include more of those in the upcoming videos. But yeah, onto the breakdown. So as always, started off with a atmosphere. So I've got vinyl crackle mixed with a coffee shop field recording, and I've just chopped away some of the low end. Next, I've got the instrument bus, which has got the pianos grouped, as well as some additional instrument textures that I add in a little bit later on. So each of the piano recordings, obviously I had two mics, so I've got two different stems for each of those. For the piano solo, I panned the stems hard left and hard right. So if you look at this, I've got panned left and panned right there. But for the sort of main chord progressions, I didn't do that as much. So on this one, I've got it panned 10 left, 10 right. And again, the same on this one. So I'll start off with the first chord bit that I recorded, which was this sort of high-end little melody. So on the piano bus, I've got a little auto filter cutting out the high end as the intro comes in, as I often do. And I've also got a J37 stereo, which is a tape emulation plugin from Waves, just adding a lot of clarity and saturation to the piano. See, it's much brighter with that on. So that's the piano group. And then for this piano melody here, I've just got an auto filter cutting out everything below 100 Hertz. And I've got EQ8 in mid-side mode, making sure that none of the stereo information is in the sort of low end. So that's the first little piano bit. And that layers in with the solo. So for that one, I've cut everything below about 400 Hertz because I just want the high information. I've added spaced out there for the really sort of lush reverb. And I've also added crystallizer from Sound Toys, which is adding like the pitch shift delay. So I've got that first chord progression, which plays throughout most of the track. And then the second chord progression is this one. You can hear in there little squeaks and noises, which just all add to the overall sound for lo-fi. And then here I've got a bit of an EQ cut on some of the low end. And again, making everything mono below a certain frequency. And then what I actually do is I've thrown this through a tape recorder, and it came out like this. It's a little bit more saturated, compressed, and a little bit darker. So basically when I bring the tape recording version in, I also keep the high end of the clean recording. So that's when this auto filter kicks in, cuts everything below 1K. It's just keeping the real sort of high end, just to make it a little bit brighter because the tape recording was a little bit dark. So that's basically the piano. I've also got a second layer of solos, which is just a little bit less reverb heavy. So that is the piano bus. And as I said, I've got a J37 Waves on there and an auto filter just for transitions. And then the instrument bus has got a viola and Lecco for some vocal textures. So the viola is this one here from Felt Instruments. Really nice sort of heavily processed lo-fi type viola. Really love the sound of this one. In terms of effects, I added some sketch cassette on there for some saturation and a bit of wow and flutter. I've got a Valhalla Reverb Vintage Verb on there with a chamber preset, and I've got an Autopan on there as well. And with the Autopan, I've also put it on Lecco. So this is the viola. And I've put the opposite Autopan on Lecco. So when the viola's moving more to the right, Lecco's moving more to the left. And this is the Lecco one. So this one is a vocal texture. It's from Lecco and it's Tears in the Rain preset. And you can use the modulation wheel to bring in the vocals, which is what you saw me doing in the intro. And then on top of that, autofilter to cut out anything below on 600 Hertz, sketch cassette on there as well, pretty much the same effects as the viola. And then a little plate on there for the reverb this time, which is a Soundtoys reverb. And as I said, autopan with the opposite to the viola. And then finally, just a usual sort of guitar line here. So it's got my usual guitar rack, convolution reverb, cutting out the lows, some movement with an autopan, and some fresh air on there as well. I did have more guitar in there as well, but I didn't think it worked that much. But I've kept a little bit there. So that is the instrument group. Next up, I've got a kick, which is just from my last sample pack. It's the ML Dusty Kick one with kick fix. Can't remember what that was from. But yeah, just a sort of stubby kick. And then in this group, it's all the sort of drum textures. So I've got a snare. Again, this was from my last pack, ML Lofi wood. So I've laid a couple of different sounds in there. So just a simple sort of crunchy wood snare. So these were all the little bits that I recorded with the drumsticks. So not much to say on this really. It was just recording little sounds and textures and adding some effects to them. So usually I just throw in auto filters to cut out the frequencies I don't want. So usually with these, want a specific band of information. So this is just the higher band, but without anything too high. And then next up again, cutting out the highs and the lows. So I just got a certain band of information, which is just the real sort of mid highs. But I've also added halftime on there, which is a plugin that takes the sound, pitches it down, and then blends it in to the original sound. Next up, I've got another little texture. Again, same thing, filter in the top, filter in the bottom, reverb, and then some decapitator, which is some like saturation, distortion. And then the first one was just a little bit of a crunchy noise, which again has got decapitator on there, just giving a bit of distortion. Then all together, just adds a nice sort of random depth to the track. And then finally, it's just this bass line, which is just recorded from my P-Bass like you saw in the intro. I actually recorded this through the Laney L5 studio and then added Soothe to it, and that was it. I didn't add any sort of filtering or emulations. And then you're left with this. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this week's video. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. It really helps the channel grow if you comment and like the video, so please do it if you enjoyed it. And there's going to be more VSTs and content coming in the next few weeks, so stick around for that. And yeah, I'll catch you next time.